Hello everybody and welcome for the second afternoon session here, and it is the big one once again. After a brilliant match between Mark Selby and David Gilbert, it is now the world number 1 that is going to take on world number 28 Jack Lisowski against Judd Trump. Trump has already managed to break off here, so it will be Lisowski with the first shot into the frame, and already in a little bit of spot of trouble here for Jack, as Trump is off to a great start, as he was off yesterday, beating both of his opponents in round 1 and qualification with the identical scoreline of 5 frames to 1. Lisowski had a walkover over Ryan Day, so didn't feature in round 1. And you'll have to be a long stuff for him here if he is to try to get back at him. For now, though, an early safety battle. And Lisowski now has to respond to Trump's early success so far. Once again, the cue ball is right on the cushion there. And nicely played there by Lisowski, so focusing more of getting the red safe. Probably the right thing to do there, if you think about it. Now Trump himself has got a little shot, though, to try and potentially get into the reds in a way that he can even pot one here if he can find a nice angle. So he went for that, and I'm really surprised to see him holding on for the black, because in the end he's now given an easy chance here for Jack Lisowski. Now what can Jack do with it now? Well, he can be off to a great start here, and now has got a position around the black ball, and really promising start, I would say, for Lisowski. And in the early position, have a look at this for a split. He's not taking any time at all there, Lisowski, and got into position nicely. Trump will be kicking himself after that shot now, because all of a sudden, after the position was really bunched up together and all the reds, it looked like none of them were really available for the break building. All of a sudden, Lisowski is in now. Just a little head-to-head stat for you. Trump has managed to win all 7 of the last meetings, and make that 10 if you don't count Championship League, which are the only 2 wins in Lisowski's last 11 meetings with Trump. So that particular stat is not going to be looking nicely here for Jack. Remember, he's considered to be one of the best players on tour, certainly, and potentially even in the world, to never win a ranking title. And of course, 3 of his finals have been lost against Judd Trump. These two have been good friends in the past, but I don't think that friendship will be really close to them before at least the end of this match. Now Lisowski, 16 points on the break here, needs to be playing in around the blue and the black here, with pink still not available to his name so far. Now there's a little bit of a delay as he needs to get a rest in here. So difficult red for him potentially to be playing off onto the black, so needs to be careful with this. In a position like that, the last thing you want to be giving is a chance to your opponent as he reaches for the extension there. So once again, taking his time there. No need to be rushing things from Jack there. Needs to be off to a perfect start, and every single frame he can win will be a massive bonus against a player like Judd Trump. Now, of course, already 17 points scored. Once again, landing nicely on the black, and has got, let's say, 5 or 6 more reds to try and potentially play for. Depends how well he can be in and around them. That little cannon into the red has helped him nicely to land on one of them. So this time I think he's got the angle to be going for the blue there. Needs to be clinical with those sort of things. Always has to be ended up on the right side of the blue to go towards the lower side of the table. Hello, looking forward to an amazing round. Yeah, I think it'll be a good one. You know, we've seen Selby against Gilbert today. It wasn't quite as breathtaking as I was certainly expecting, but I think this match will deliver in terms of pure power and pure speed to it. I think there's going to be, especially if Lisowski gets his game under control and puts some early pressure on Trump, I think we could be in here for a potential 8 frames or even more, with either man potentially taking it. Lisowski here on the break of 31 so far, so doing everything right in the opening frame after that early missed chance from Trump, which I have to say I'm still very surprised to see him be playing for the black in that sort of position. Now 38 points is the punishment so far for Trump, but the position is looking like it could well be a lot more significant than that, and could even turn into a frame-winning chance from the first time of asking. For Lisowski here, already 46 points scored. Make that 47. Looking to make the first 50-plus break already here, earlier on. Once again, using that cushion pretty much every single shot there from the black. But this time hasn't landed perfectly on that red, so might have to use one of the ball colors this time to get himself a nice angle to transition back to the reds. Of course, 54 points is the break for Lisowski right now. 75 points on the table are still there for grabs, with 7 reds in open play. Taking his time there, Lisowski, making sure that he's not going to be leaving a red on for Trump in case he misses it. And there you go, that time and perseverance pays off there for Jack. Still on the break, and now on the break of 60 here. And Lisowski once again with a nice little red there. And the black is going to be a frame ball for him. Will be 68 ahead with 67 on the table. So good stuff there from Jack. And once again, cannons lovely into the reds there. And brilliant stuff. Once again, 73 points now. Looking to make that 75, I should say, with the pink. As the pink disappears. Nicely done once again. So still 59 points on the board there for him. Try and potentially do all the damage earlier on here and potentially have a century break. What an introduction that will be for Lisowski into this match. Once again, taking his time, but not too much of it, and getting down to those shots really early on, and so far flawless in his performance. Ahmad, hello Kami, nice to see you, my friend. Good to see you here. Lisowski once again on the red nicely up there. And another red disappears off, so just one more left for him. And with 94 points on the board here on the current break, the pink for the century in the first frame doesn't even need the last red. And in it goes. So brilliant stuff there from Lisowski, and a break of 100 already. Still enough points for him to make it 130 something. Needs to put the red, I should say, into the green pocket. Does it nicely and flawlessly once again. This time it's the blue for him. The blue is in as well. And now the reds are all gone. And it's just the last 6 colors for the total clearance of potentially 133 here for Lisowski. So I'd say it's been a promising start, and it's been a perfect start for him. It's a really bad start if you're Judd Trump, but I suppose on the hindsight of that, there wasn't really a lot that Trump has done wrong there. He just had to be a little bit more careful with his approach and not taking that first long pot that he had a chance of. Missed it by a while, but as I say, the most surprising thing for me was he was holding up for the black, which wasn't really available at that time. And that allowed Lisowski with a easy start. And yeah, in the end, you can see what that resulted in. 133 points total clearance if this black goes in. And a perfect start, I have to say. I want to know what the timing of that was, because that was absolutely rapid there from Lisowski. And all of a sudden, he's off to a great start, has got a cushion of a frame. And now Trump has to respond himself. Lisowski there, just checking with the referee. While we have a break in between the frame here, I just want to go through some of the other matches that are going on. Of course, Yuan Jun is playing John Higgins. And on table number 2, we've got the Chinese world champion Zhao Xington against Stephen Maguire. Will be a really interesting pairing there. Tom Ford is already one frame up on Ryan Evans there. And Scott Donaldson and Chep Choyonun has started their match as well. With a clash of styles, Mark Allen against Hossein Vafai. Allen is on a decent break in the first frame, so looking to do all the damage. And of course, it's all English pair here. The winner of Trump-Lisowski pair will play the winner of Gary Wilson, Sean Murphy. So far, it's Murphy that is on the break, but trailing 12 to 40 points to Gary Wilson there. So, and the last one of the lot is Jackson Page against Si Xiaowei. So some really good pairings there. Si Xiaowei on a break of 55 at this moment in time, as John Higgins put the first frame on his scoreboard, and he's now leading by 1 frame to 0 here. Trump might be in trouble. We'll see. I still think it's earlier on, but I think one thing that you have to be concerned about if you judge Trump is, taking too many of those long pots that are not going to give you safe, especially in terms of the cue ball. Need to be doing a lot better in that aspect, but still early days, and we've seen Trump come back from 5-0 down to win 6-5. I certainly think we can still see him come back from 1-0 lead here from Lisowski. I still think it will be a massive sort of mistakes game, and whoever makes the least of them is going to win the match, because both players certainly have the qualities of a brilliant break building and safety play, especially if you talk about Lisowski. He mentioned a couple of times that that's been one of the parts of the game that he was so keen to improve on for the last couple of seasons, especially 2023 onwards, after losing a couple of finals there. One of them, funnily enough, was to Judd Trump in the Players' Championship. And now Lisowski on with a break. So really keen to get this second frame underway. The trajectory of the cue ball is good to be ending up behind the green there. Hasn't quite got the power, but that'll still do it nicely. And Trump only has the left side of the bunch to try and deal with here. Once again, an all-English last 32 and an all-English last 16 in this current pairing. Of course, the winner of this pair, as I say, will meet the winner of Sean Murphy, Gary Wilson pair. And Trump comes back with a decent safety of his own. So back comes Jack to the table. Very much aggressive style there from him. Trying to split up the bunch. Once again, having that lovely cue ball control. Just rolling up in behind the yellow. And, all of a sudden, could it be Trump in trouble? Could it be Lisowski with a brilliant win against Trump? We haven't seen those since 2020. I mean, if you take away the Championship League results, that's for sure. Certainly has been struggling in the latest parts of the season last year, especially, of course, in the World Championship. Hasn't had a brilliant campaign. Trump got to the semi-final, considered to be one of the most informed people on tour now. but had some struggles earlier on in the season as well, losing to Oliver Lyons in the Saudi Arabian Masters and losing to Neil Robertson in the Shanghai Masters as well. And that, I don't think that's a brilliant shot here from Trump, because I think he's left one to the middle pocket here for Jack. In fact, he's left to either one. And yeah, concerning signs at this moment in time, because certainly you wouldn't expect Trump to be doing that after he's seen what Lisowski can do with a break of 133. And needs a good opener here, and he gets it, but it was always going to be difficult to try and force his way out of that danger area onto the color. You know, you're always going to be like, it was always going to be pink that he was aiming for, but not at that time of asking. Still can attempt it into the yellow pocket, but has to breach over the reds, which makes it an awful lot harder. The line is good, but he seems to be unhappy that he's faded on the table there, so the pink stays out, and that's the end of a break here for Lisowski, and a chance here for Trump to do some damage and break building of his own. Has got a straightforward introduction here, mid-range shot here, not the worst one if you're Judd Trump, and yeah, does it really well. Lands on the black perfectly, so could he have a good response here now? Probably needs it with the form and the shape that Lisowski has come out with. Needs to make sure doesn't get complacent here, Trump. It doesn't get Lisowski get away with it, because when he's on it, Jack, he can be one of the most dangerous and one of the most punishable players outside of the top 16. Being the world number 28 now. Reminder that on the table next to us, on table number 2, it's the world number 26, Stephen Maguire, against the world number 7, Zhao Xington. As the referee takes the time to put the black ball exactly where it should be, in and amongst the reds. Trump now has gone for the backspin option and now has to breach over the reds to get to this black, making it not the easiest pots of all time, but makes it, and ends up nicely on the red as well. So the black spot is now completely free of any spot of bother, and now Trump will be looking to make the most out of it. Nicely done there, once again on the backspin, using that cushion to get some more spin on the cue ball and get it that little bit closer to the black. I think the angle is going to be really favorable for Judd to be going into the last sort of pack of 3 there, right beneath the pink spot there. Needs to be careful. He does guarantee himself a red there, so he's gone against that option. And that kiss could have got him into a little bit of trouble. I don't think, it was planned, but I certainly think it would have been really harsh on Trump there had he not landed on the red, having played, the safe manner, and decided to go against the split of the bunch and just aim for the single ones to this point. And don't think he'll be too pleased with that, because clearly from his facial expression he was playing to go on off the red into the blue and land nicely there with the right angle, but still has pink to his rescue. There's now a couple of shots ago he has freed up the pink spot nicely of any sort of crowding from the reds, but this time would have liked to be ended up a little bit further away from the cushion that he has. Barely a centimeter there between the cue ball and the cushion of the table. That needs to make sure his red is in now, first and foremost, and then the position will back it off as well. So the first part of the task has been completed by Trump, but the second one not so good, because it's now has an awkward angle on the blue. Will have to use the ball cushion to get himself back onto the bottom side of the table, and just doing a bit too much there, and in the end just missing the blue ball entirely. So the end of a break there for him, and Lisowski comes back to the table. Not too sure if he has a straightforward chance to be back in this frame with a break here. We'll have to wait and see on that one. So just evaluating his options there. I think he certainly has one along the cushion, but it's not the easiest of the shots there. Ooh, he's gone for an aggressive one, and has he got anything out of it? I don't think he has, because it's a blue or nothing here from this position. And want to see the angle that is a little bit better than that to see if the red is blocking on it. So it doesn't seem to be, so I think he got away with one there. And yeah, he's playing with some confidence, Jack, here, you can tell. So clearly been enjoying himself on the practice table, because he's absolutely powered that blue in from not the sort of kindest of angles to him. Still has a difficult red into the middle if he wants to take that one on. Or has a cut into the right corner pocket. And in the end, just one shot too many for him to play there. And yeah, we'll have to settle just for 6 points on that break, and leave a trump in with an easy opener. So decent lie there from the Red Bull, but just a little bit unlucky. And undercut by a bit, yeah. Should have done a little bit better, but should have landed on it better in the first place, I would say. You know, now Trump has himself a chance to get a little bit better in terms of the points tally on the frame number 2. And make sure he closes off the second frame from the second time of asking here. Already 33 points clear, with 83 on the table. So not an awful lot of work to do here. Just needs to take it nice and steadily here. Avoid any more positional errors, which in the second frame we've seen at least one from each player. Lisowski was able to sort of get away with it on that blue, but it was only in the next shot that he actually managed to miss, only scoring 6 points on that break. Trump now, there's only a couple more reds with colors to pot, and he will be well away for a 1-all draw here earlier on. So a quick dynamic start to the match. It hasn't been perfect from each of the players, but certainly has been good to watch. Now Trump once again has 3 more easy reds, which will do the job nicely for him. No chance of a century here, so I think it's just all about getting the frame 1 for Trump. And then anything apart from that will be a bonus for the world number 1. Once again, using all of that pocket to make sure that ping does land in. And now has a frame ball to his name with 55 on the table, looking to make that 55 being the gap. Will be 56 with that red. And the points tally on the table will be, and is now, only 51 remaining. So a good response here from Judd Trump. He couldn't do it from the first time of asking, but in the end, he got himself a second chance. And he was able to use it to full extent. Now, just enjoying the table time. And keeping Lisowski away from the table, just in his chair. Exactly the kind of thing that Trump would have liked to see. Probably a frame later. But, of course, Lisowski hasn't been able to do damage just yet, as Trump misses the last red of the break there. So, it is now a frame each here, and Judd Trump comes back quite quickly. Lisowski had his chance to potentially put some pressure on him in that second frame, but missed the red. That wasn't the easiest. But in the end, it is Trump now that won the second frame. It is now Judd Trump 1, Jack Lisowski 1. Once again, while we have a break in between the frame, Tom Ford is now on course to be 2-0 ahead against Rio Nevins. Stephen Maguire has won the opening frame against Zhao Xington. So a little bit unexpected there. Sean Murphy has won the first frame as well against Gary Wilson. A little bit more predictable there. And then Wilson is now, though, on a break of 36 already. So looking promising for him there. Chip Cheo, Nunes, Con Donaldson already have won a frame each. And Steve Xiaowei and Jackson Page are still scrapping for the first frame, with Steve Xiaowei looking to end that one shortly. And there you go, 1-0 to the Chinese player. Mark Cullen has won the first frame against Hossein Vafaei, and yeah, I think we're all caught up there. So, good match so far, I would say. You know, it was always going to be a good contrast to Selby Gilbert match. You know, when you have two players that don't mind to be playing sort of tactical snooker. When you have Jack Lisowski and Judd Trump, you know, even without the respect they already have for each other, they're always going to try and go for the chances that other players probably wouldn't on tour. But especially when you have those two meeting each other, it was always going to be an entertaining match. And so far in the opening two frames, it has been just that. So as the players will be looking to come back for the third frame, still a break in between those at this moment in time. So once again, I just want to check on that John Higgins Yuan Si-jun match. So yeah, Higgins, after winning the opening frame, is now on course to make that 2 in a row, as he has a break of 30 and he's leading by 44 points with 75 remaining. Tom Ford now once again 57 points scored already, and looking to make that 2-0 lead against Ryan Evans. And it's now Lisowski. He's the player that will break. Well, so the referee thought, you know, Lisowski having the laugh of it, because he's certainly not, because I think the referee has told Lisowski that he's the person to break. In the end, Trump is the one to do that. Little smiles there. So good to see that both players seeing the funny side of it, and Trump certainly seeing the better side of that break-off, as lands the cue ball exactly on the cushion there, leaves Lisowski with no other option but to play a safety there. A good safety, to be fair to him. And once again, the turn goes back to Trump here. Good signs earlier on, especially if you're a Lisowski fan. You know, it was always going to be a challenge to come up against world number one, especially a player you haven't really managed to beat plenty of times, especially in the later stages of the tournament. But it's been a promising start, a lot better of the first frame, with Lisowski avoiding any sort of errors. In the second frame, that's not only one, but that proved to be enough in the end for Trump to just punish him and take the second chance that was presented to him. Lisowski here with a good safety there. Would have liked to make Trump not see that red, but now it's going to be an easy safety here for the world number one, as he's just looking at his options, potentially where he's going to send that red, because I don't really have any doubts that he will be the red that he will be playing on the top part of the table. And yeah, you can see there just doing a little bit of backspin just to make cue ball stick onto the ball cushion. And hasn't played that one to an absolute perfection. I think potentially, it depends on the angle, but potentially could have left a plant there for Lisowski. A lot of distance between the balls there, but the trajectory of the ball is going to be benefiting Lisowski there, because cue ball will be going back up towards the ball cushion area. So it shouldn't be too much of a concern should he miss it. And that was the case to an extent, but I don't think he got particularly lucky with the deflection and the second red. And he's rolled onto the middle here, so I thought he was going to be safe. Obviously, Lisowski thought he was going to be safe, but in the end it wasn't. And now Trump with a chance. Exquisite touch there, and a really good cut and a really good pace to stay on the black here. The position still needs a lot of work to do, but early signs are here that Judd Trump is here to play, and that first frame loss hasn't done any damage to him, as he already managed to level up the scoring. 9 points scored, looking to make that 16 on the black, and yeah, the position looking really, really nicely here for Trump. in terms of the break building. You know, the pink is covered up, but so be it. And now, once again, using that little bit of backspin, potentially a cushion to land perfectly on the black. So he decides against the cushion option, and clearly a sign that the cue ball will be going into the bunch of reds shortly from the black. And I think just Trump just thinking there, which one should I catch full ball, or maybe sort of at a certain angle, using a lot of topspin there, and not a lot of power there, surprisingly. So he tried to just clear one side of the bunch, and I don't think that worked out for him too nicely there. As he still landed on the red, I'm pretty sure. It's hard to tell from this angle. But A, it will be quite difficult to be on the black after this shot. He may have to play for the blue there. And B, I'm not even sure he can play that red. And the sign that sort of he considers to be going for the other red is probably just a confirmation of that. Yeah, it's just another safety here. So surprised to see with that shot from Chop. You know, he took an extra time even to see which part of the bunch he was gonna take out, but didn't prove to be effective for him. So Lisowski comes back to the table, sends one of the reds onto the cushion towards the bulk area, and now Chomp, I assume, will just split up the bunch slightly and roll the cue ball back towards the black ball cushion. I think he's probably thinking, what are the things he can sort of leave on for Lisowski in case of a failure of a shot. Nicely done so far. So he decided to go for a little bit of a change of strategy there. So instead of splitting up the bunch, he decided to keep it sort of in the way it already is. And now Lisowski responding with the same sort of shot, with nothing really in open play. He's not really risking anything with those types of shots, even though you're leaving the cue ball in a quite open area. And this time Trump just went for a shot that I have to say he probably just miscued there, because I can't believe he would have been going for that shot. Sort of not in mind that that red might be available for Lisowski to play. So no idea what his plan there was, but I think Lisowski will certainly take it. There's a chance here to get back himself, at least on level terms for now. You know, the position, as I say, doesn't look too promising, but a couple of shots could change that in a second there, as Lisowski catches the red, catches the blue, I should say, really nicely, catches the puck even better, but too good, I would say, at that time, and concedes 5 points to Trump because one of the reds has gone in straight from that shot. And back comes Trump here, so really unlucky, I would say, because he caught pink absolutely perfectly there. The reds have split up really nicely, but in the end, this is all he's done for his opponent because of one of the reds going in alongside the blue. Now, of course, the end of a break and the start of the break here for Judd Trump, getting the red and the blue earlier on. So now, second time of asking once again, could be a little bit of a deja vu to the previous frame. And just get the job done here, nice and steady. Trump will have now the option of either yellow or green to play. I think he'll settle for the yellow there, for the cheaper color, simply because still has one more red on the ball cushion to play for. And that will come in handy in a couple of seconds' time. So all the ball colors, well, pretty much every single color apart from the pink, are on their spots now. The red is taken. Hasn't landed too well on any of the ball colors, I would say. But I think the yellow is still good enough for him to be screwing back into the cushion there. Nicely done. And now, of course, has a little bit of an easier shot into the left corner pocket there, Trump. Could easily hold it held up for the black there if he wanted. Let's see if he decides to go for a safe option and go for the blue. He did. And the reason for that is he might have actually been a little bit concerned about potting that red. In the end, if there was a concern about it, probably was for the right, because Lisowski is back at the table and Chomp has missed that red. So straight down there Lisowski, and has a decent shot, I would say, in terms of potting the red, but not so good if you talk about having that black ball positioning play. And yeah, once again there, Lisowski this is more sort of what I expected coming into this match from Lisowski, I will be honest. You know, just being too keen to get those shots earlier up and running. What was that shot by Liz? Yeah, it was always been a concern. You know, this is a little bit more of what I personally expected from Lisowski coming into this match. You know, bit of inconsistency, bit of too eagerness to get himself in a nice position earlier than it's possible, and he took no time on that shot. He got down to, even though he was a position, he didn't even think about playing a safety off there, which could have been a better option at that time of asking, and basically gifted a frame here to Chomp. Yeah, if Chomp gets a decent chance in the fourth frame, I'll be stunned if it's not 3-1 going into the first mid-session interval. And from there, it should be quite straightforward for Chomp to finish off the job. So yeah, after a really good first frame and really promising start there from Lisowski, Chomp has just potted a frame ball there, and in no time he has managed to not only close that gap down, but also get himself ahead here, as he's got now a break of 24, so he hasn't had any brilliant breaks so far, Judd Trump, but the ones he had were good enough for him to do all the damage to Lisowski's. Once again, a really good mid-range shot there. A little bit of probably exhibition coming up. No, he decided to go for a straightforward shot there. Surprised, to be honest. Especially if you know the way Judd Chomp likes to play those types of shots when the frame is won and there's not sort of century on the line. So just decided to play in behind that red. Missed it anyway. So didn't make an awful lot of difference in the end. But it's now Judd Trump with the lead of 2 frames to 1 here. And could it be all going off here for Jack Lisowski as he takes a bathroom break? And I don't think he'll be looking up to the mid-session 15-minute interval as well, because so far, after the first moment of brilliance and the first frame of brilliance, I would say, it has been more of the same from Jack Lisowski and a lot better from Chomp in terms of his performance. Now Lisowski needs to come back at least with something if he is to challenge Chomp to a certain extent in the next frame. For now though, we have a break, and with a little tradition there, I'll just guide you through the scorelines in the other matches. Gary Wilson has leveled things up here against Sean Murphy, and he's actually on a break of 54 to potentially get himself ahead there. Zhao Xington is now doing just that against Stephen Maguire, so that's going to be 1-0 there. John Higgins has won the second frame 2-0 against Yuan Si-jun. And Si Xiaowei is on a break of 45 himself to try and finish the job off early against Jackson Page. And yeah, Mark Allen against Hossein Wafai, it seems to be. It's going to be 1-0 here as well. But for Lisowski, it is all going wrong in the second and third frame. Needs to make sure at least the fourth one goes his way. And to do that, you'll need to make sure he, first of all, gets himself with a chance, and then, of course, punishes his opponent with the chance that presents himself. For Trump, though, it's been a perfect reaction, and what a way to respond to going 1-0 down. And the best way to respond to it is by winning 2 frames on the bounce and going now yourself with a 2-1 lead here. I think my observation before the fourth frame is that the trump will certainly have his chance, and he will probably give another chance to Lisowski. But even though I'm quite confident Trump will take at least one of the two chances that I think he'll get of Lisowski, I'm not so sure about Jack, because he's still on a bathroom break, by the way, so a little bit of a delay here. This time it'll be him, of course, that is going to take a break-off shot. But I say this is probably a key frame in this match, because should Lisowski lose it, you'll be with an absolute mountain to climb to close off this match in his favor, as this time he's back to the table and it's his turn to break off here. Rianne in this one too. Yeah, she is. She is. I think she got a walkover over Robertson because he obviously withdrew from the tournament, and because she did the qualifying round before that, didn't have to play one. She was already in the first round. And with Robertson withdrawing, she got a sort of walkover to round 2, and now facing the snooker shootout winner of last year, Tom Ford. Ford winning that one by 2-0 so far. As now Lisowski has a free safety shot, as he's got a touch and ball call from Trump. He uses that one quite nicely, with the cue ball almost intact to the ball cushion there. Strain behind the brown, so just once again, just the left part of the bunch for, the right part I should say, of the bunch for Trump to work with. Needs to judge this one well though, because the angle he's got, I think there's going to be a lot of power in that cue ball. He needs to make sure he judges it just about perfectly so that it lands exactly where he wants it, and does exactly that with almost identical positioning in terms of the distance to the cushion there. Lisowski's turn. And yeah, Lisowski's turn was a little bit of a mess, so not too sure what the plan was there, but I certainly think the plan was not to catch the jaws of the pocket, so the plan has been failed by Lisowski, as was his mission so far of, eliminate those unforced errors, which we've seen at least 5 of already, and it's only been 3 and a bit frames. Trump now has not the most difficult shots with the rest to get himself up and running in frame number 4 for a potential healthy lead of 3-1, and hasn't got it. So Lisowski gets away with that one and has got a chance there. And the chance certainly has to be taken here. There's no messing around after it. Trump literally left a red ball hanging on for him there. So it was a little bit harder for Lisowski to breach over all the reds. So he's done well to get on the ball colors. Now has got a choice of either green or brown. I think he'll go for the green option here. Needs to judge the pace of the cue ball perfectly. Hasn't quite done so, and I think I'll have to use the rest for this shot, making it awkward. Yeah, so he just checks if he needs the rest there. I think he will. But what's even more awkward about this shot is that the blue is out of position. The pink is certainly out of position as well. I can't see him landing on the black from here, so I can't really see which color going to land on, apart from, going really heavily into the reds and just hoping he'll land on the blue or the ball colors. So exactly what he's done there. And now has got blue into the green pocket with quite a favorable angle, I would say. So yeah, it was a matter of time for me. It was coming, and you can see once again he was just rushing things. He got away with one there. He hasn't had a good positional shot on the shot prior to that, and the blue was missed. And the Trump now with a chance to do the damage from the second time of asking. As Jack returns to being, unfortunately, the Jack of last season, where he just couldn't find a string of frames, couldn't find any sort of consistency, and has just been gifting chances to his opponents. And he's been doing that already for the majority of this match. And we've only seen 3.5 frames here. And yeah, once again, it'll have to be a mistake from Trump for Lisowski to come back to the table, because as Stephen Hendry will say on the commentary, this is certainly a frame-winning chance. And now in and around the black spot, already 11 points clear with 16 on the break. Has got 4 or 5 more reds in quite straightforward position. I wouldn't say easy, but straightforward for sure. So the first one goes in. And Trump will be tempted to develop that bunch in a while, but not doing that yet. Just taking his time and eliminating all the available reds before he can. He has to sort of risk it going into the bunch, which in the frame number 2 we've already seen he hasn't been too good at in this match so far, but of course only had to do it twice and failed on both of those occasions. We'll be looking to make it 1 out of 3 here at least. It's once again nicely on the black. We'll use the black ball cushion almost surely to get himself onto the red. Does exactly that with a little bit of topspin. Hasn't landed on that one as nicely as I would have thought he would. You know, now you have to debate whether it's easier to go for the green pocket shot or the middle. I think he will go for the middle option, but far from ideal this. It's in. How's the cue ball positioning? It's quite good. So, recovers well there, Trump. You know, no panicking certainly, no emotion whatsoever on his face. As the yellow goes in. And 35 plays 5 here, so 30 points is the gap with 91 points still on the table. Trump there just taking his time to see how many reds are still available to him, and in how many shots time you'll have to try and force the position to improve with a little shot of his. So yeah, he clearly understood that he was going to be going into the red, head into the ball. So that hasn't done anything nicer to its positioning, but still has got a black and a couple of more shots to his name. Try and stay in it. And nicely done there. So just deciding to go for the last red available to him so far. Quite close to the right cushion. Would like to see himself at least a little bit of an angle, because he wouldn't want to be straight on it. That will leave Cuba way too close to the cushion and make the split of the bunch a lot more harder than it has to be. So, shot with the rest here. And yeah, just scrubbed up the front jaw there, but the pace was nowhere near as significant as it should have been for Trump to make a mistake there. So still, he's all right there. A break of 44 and continued. As the black is in the pocket, so decides to go for a little gentle touch and just eliminated one of the reds that was in the way. And I think he'll make more of an impact from this particular shot on the red. Some action on the cue ball. Needs to make sure he lands on the black there, and does exactly that. So flawless in terms of pure sort of performance from Judd. You know, he didn't have any chance in the first frame, apart from the long shot that he's missed. But as we've seen with Chomp, that's why he said it himself. That's why he rarely does a whitewash to his opponents. You know, he beat Farah Hajj 5-1. He beat Lee Hon Yu 5-1. Because he always goes for those extra sort of 50-50 options that sometimes he'll miss, and he knows he can afford to miss, but they're just a part of the game that he doesn't want to be getting rid of. And that's the part of the game that got him into a frame ball situation, to win 3 frames on the bounce and go with a nice little cushion lead into the session number 2. Does exactly that as the black ball disappears into the pocket. The red follows him up. So 63 is the gap with 51 on table. We won't see Jack Lisowski at the table until the end of the interval. What we might see here is a century break from Judd Trump, as he'll still be very much on the hunt here, I think, for this season, for 100 centuries in a season, for that 100,000 prize money bonus. And of course, he is still the player that is the closest to Ronnie O'Sullivan's record and tally of centuries. When you talk about the age, and when you talk about still the time that Trump potentially has of his game, many people, me included, see him taking over that record from O'Sullivan in years to come. That's 2 more shots here for a century break. The black will make it 99. And the next shot on the yellow will make it a break of 100. So the black is in really nicely there on the yellow. Don't think we're going to see a total clearance here because of the blue and the pink positioning. As the yellow wobbles in, so a century break here to respond to the first frame century break from Lisowski. Trump now has got 1 to his name as well. And fluid snooker, I mean, it's barely been sort of an hour into this match, and we're already 4 frames down here. As he tried to force a little bit of a cannon on the blue to get it into a better position. Couldn't do that, so just a roll along the cushion, and the blue ball is missed there. So that'll be the end of the first mini session here, as both players will go for a 15-minute break here, as Judd Trump has a really healthy lead here, as he now leads by 3 frames to 1. Jack Lisowski got away to a perfect start, but the remaining 3 frames saw Trump run away with it to an extent. And now it will be Lisowski's job to do to try and do anything to get back in this match. We'll see you for some more action in 15 minutes time. Right then, with the players returning back to action, it is time for the start of session number 2. And it's time for Judd's break-off, which he has managed to do quite nicely there. So now Lisowski needs to respond himself. And the first phases of the frames have been really significant so far. And once again, Lisowski just not a start that he would have liked to see, as the first safety of his frame results into the cue ball going into the pocket. So should have seen that coming and should have caught that red a little bit thinner there to go off into 2 cushions into the black ball area, but instead he's now given Trump a chance for an early long pot here. He's got away with not giving him the cut into the middle pocket, but still Trump now has got a chance, which he certainly takes in brilliant style there. And brilliant stuff here from Trump. And he's back exactly where he was. Where the white's going. Where's the cue ball going? Where's the cue ball going right now, though? Because Trump hasn't landed on any of the colors. And he's got a potential attempt here of a blue. Would count that as a really good long shot if he gets it. And boy, does he do that. And brilliant stuff here from Trump. And I think it's the perfect example how one frame win can't guarantee you anything, even form, even momentum. You know, we've seen Lisowski have a decent performance in the opening frame, but it all gone downhill ever since for him. And now Trump looking to make this best of 9, looking to make it in 6 frames potentially. And I did say he's beaten Farah Kajib and Lee Hon Yu in the first 2 rounds. Well, in the first round and the qualification round that he had to go through. And could we see another scoreboard like that here? As you certainly wouldn't bet on Lisowski winning or any of the remaining 2 frames. I mean, I certainly wouldn't. With Trump here, 13 points on the break, making that 14 and lining up nicely on the black. Still has 1 more red available into play. And then we'll have to find some more action here on the cue ball. Into the bunch, you would seem, in the next couple of shots here. So he's lined up nicely on this red, just looking for the right position on the black to give himself a good angle. And I think it's a little bit short of an angle there, but we'll see what this following shot will do for Trump. Yeah, it was always going to be hard for him to do anything from that sort of angle, but 29 points scored, and looks like it will be the end of break here for Trump. Now, what has he got? Has he got a potential chance here to cut the red into the right middle pocket? If not, you'll have to be just a safety shot, I'm afraid, because of the way the reds are positioned now. So Trump is taking his time here, clearly not too keen on playing the safety shot. And if he is, just looking which one to potentially try and play. So I think it was really tight between him seeing that cut into the right middle pocket, but in the end just refusing that. And so still taking his time, though. Once again, a little bit of a delay here for Trump, as he still can't make his mind up on what his next shot is going to be. I think he already accepted that he won't be playing an attacking shot. I think he's just looking which safety to play now. And he's actually gone for a double there, so really surprised to see that. He's gone for a double shot, even a triple, I would say, it seemed, with the sort of powers that he was playing with that one. Missed it, and Lisowski comes back to the table. I think the evaluation from Trump must have been that he hasn't got an awful lot to leave on the table, and barring a double for Lisowski, which he most certainly will attempt. And with the way he's been playing, most certainly will miss as well, unfortunately. Leaves Trump a long pot into the green pocket here. The cue ball being the prime position for that. I think he'll refuse that one, though. It's this time of asking, and just go for a nice little safety shot, Trump. I think he realizes, Trump, that Lisowski doesn't seem to be in the mood to be playing safeties. So if Trump is going to be playing 2 or 3 of those, eventually he'll just force Lisowski to take one of those 50-50 long shots or something. And with the way the game has been going in the last 3 frames for sure, it will be a likely chance that Trump will still get. And it will be a lot better than the ones Lisowski has presented so far to him. And this time, once again, a good shot there from Lisowski as he gets the brown in between the cue ball and the dangerous shot into the left corner pocket. Trump needs to respond and hopefully for him try and make sure that red is covered up. One of the ways to do that is of course to just roll up to the bunch. And I think he'll go for a more dangerous option. Yes, he did do that. I was going to say he looked like he was lining up a shot to go back to the bulk area. Hasn't played this one too well, I would say. He needs to be calling for a touch and ball here, but even that I don't think will save him because Lisowski here with a chance. And all of a sudden, after a decent safety shot from Jack, had a chance here. Didn't do too much on the cue ball action, so it's got a difficult ping to face. And this is not a guarantee for him at all. So the ping is in. Now where's the cue ball going to end up? In a decent position. So once again, as pretty much every single frame has seen Jack Lisowski with a chance. He's got another one here in frame number 5. And referee will just check if the ping can go on his spot. Looks like it can. And the play resumes here. With Lisowski having not the most straightforward shot. Needs to get closely to the black there, which he does. So a good shot there. And every shot will count here for Jack because we haven't seen him string a couple of those too many times during the last 3 frames. And the fact that he's got a break of 15 already could be start of something. You would hope. We wouldn't want to see another 5-1 win straightforward match for Trump. We want to see a little bit of competition for the world number 1. The question is, can Lisowski provide that competition for him? He's got an important shot here for these black to go into the bunch. And does he get onto anything? It seems like it does. It's just the grade of the next shot is going to be judged by which of the reds can get through to the pocket. I think it will be either the one to the right middle or the one into the right bottom corner. So not too easy on each of them, especially in terms of landing on the color. So Jack there taking his time, which is a good thing to see. You know, he wasn't doing that in the previous frames and therefore missing a lot of those. This time it's a really good shot. Gets a little bit lucky, I think, if he can see this pink to an extent that he needs to pot it. And he does. So in prime position now, once again, being 1 point ahead and having, well, pretty much every single one of those reds available to him. The pink doesn't necessarily go on his spot as well as you would like. Once again, the referee has to take the time. A little bit of a rhythm disruption there for Lisowski, but shouldn't take too much time, as I would imagine it'll be the same as last time. And there we go, it's all resolved. But I think this time Lisowski will be playing for a black here. Off the cushion, nicely done. So a break of 31 here. Still 75 points on the table with only 2 points being the difference between the two players. Now, the angle on the black wasn't big enough for Jack to land on the red into the corner pocket, so have to take one into the right middle. Seen those missed already today. Just to make sure that's not the case this time, and it's not. Good shot there once again. So it seems like the break has gone to work Jack's and has helped Jack to sort of get himself back into the rhythm. The question is, how long can he keep that rhythm? And the answer is not really too long there, because he's landed awkwardly on this next red. Don't think he's got a plant into the left corner pocket, so you'll have to take it on with an extension and probably a rest as well into the right corner pocket there. So not the most difficult one, but certainly an awkward one. And landing on the color is going to be a challenge for him, with the blue and the pink being out of position. I can't really see him going for the ball color, so he'll have to do it for the black. And a little bit too much pace there on the black. Once again, hasn't got a straightforward option. Krishna Kumar, hi, hello. Nice to see you joining as well. So needs to make sure this black does drop Lisowski. And it does indeed, so good shot there. Important shot as well. Once again, overrun for the red slightly there. Has got another option into the green pocket. We'll just have to see which one he thinks is the easiest. So he's quite close to the frame ball area, I would say. Only needs a couple of more reds. As the first one is in. Nicely done once again. And 26 is the gap, so needs a red and a color, and potentially one more red after this. And yeah, hasn't landed on the red here. So 33 is the gap, 51 on the table. Has got either a difficult shot into the green pocket to take on, or try to potentially find a safety here. And he's absolutely rocketed that one into the green pocket. Really good shot there. But of course, him taking a cheap color will mean that he will need another red after it. Looks like he'll be either yellow or brown here. So you'll just check the scoreboard there to see if he needs another red, and indeed he does. So now you'll just wait and see which one is the best to land on. And the next red will of course be a frame ball for him. And a massive frame on the board for him. After losing 3 frames in succession. Would love to win at least one of those at the start. And yeah, I don't think he'll be... He may take this on into the left corner pocket and just try and guide the cue ball away from the danger area. Tough red, yeah. Certainly is, but he was always going to be playing towards the bulk area, so a smart shot, I would say. And still, anyone's frame for the taking, because 36 is being the gap. And sort of 43 on the table. Chomp can pretty much take each of those reds with any colors. And with all of them available, apart from the blue being on their spots, it shouldn't be too difficult for him. I think one thing about Lisowski is he only needs one red, so I'm pretty sure you will like to see the other one stick to the ping for quite some time for now, and try and be playing his safety shots around the one that is in open play. This time does it really nicely there, and returns the turn to Trump. Trump himself goes for a little split there between the cushions for the black and the red. I think what will follow up will be white going back to the bulk area, and red just staying up on the lower side of the table. Lisowski there just thinking about what exactly is the shot for him to play. Trump still standing there, so might want to take a seat in a while if that continues. And yeah, in the end, that is indeed go for the shot of 2 cushions landing on the ball cushion nicely there. And really nice safety, I would say, because if the brown is covering up the red, all of a sudden it's a really good snooker from Lisowski, and it's really a lot of issues here for Trump. But the look on his face probably says that he can get through to that red, and he could, but he couldn't get past the cue ball through that red. And Lisowski once again here with a chance to close out the frame number 5 and put himself within 1 frame away of making it all square here. And he does exactly that. Probably will still need a color to make sure that Trump won't come back to the table, with it being either yellow or brown. I think he'll probably go for a snooker instead. So I think Trump will still come back to the table. Only one snooker in it. 37 being the gap, 35 on the table. But needs to hit a snooker first, and hasn't. And I think might be frame conceded here. Not yet. So Trump still thinks there's something into this. And 2 snookers is something that he can get, he feels. Well, it certainly will be a frame conceded now, because Lisowski got the last red, landed on the collar. And now he's leading by 42 points, make that 49 points as the black goes in. So it's certainly going to be 3-2, still in Trump's advantage, but once again, just as we've seen in the first frame, has been a much better performance from Lisowski. Just can he stay that little bit more consistent and keep that form for at least a couple of frames? Because if he can, he'll be a dangerous player, Jack Lisowski, as we already seen in frame number 1 and 5. For now, he's probably going for just a little bit of table time, a little bit of practice, and a potential break of 36 here in the end. It's probably unlikely with him landing in behind the pink. And went for the shot into the yellow pocket and got that one in, so certainly playing with confidence in the early stages of the second mini session. Can he keep those confidence up for him as the pink stays down? So a break of 23 in the end, and frame to his name once again here for Jack Lisowski. It's now Trump leading by 3 frames to 2. And once again, a nice little tradition. Go to the other matches to see how they're doing. Tom Ford is now leading 3 frames to 1 against Ryan Evans. John Higgins is now on the break. Well, potentially trying to get on the break to win the 4th frame in a row here against Yuan Judd, to make it a 4-0 lead. Gary Wilson has taken a 3-1 lead against Sean Murphy, winning 3 frames on the bounce there. Chepchaya Onu is 1 frame away from winning against Scott Donaldson, leads by 4 frames to 1. Mark Allen is leading Hossein Vafayek, and Jackson Page is losing to Si Xiaowei with the same scoreline, 3-1 to Allen and Si Xiaowei there. Maguire and Zington is all square there, as they have a 15-minute break right now, so 2-all there. And yeah, we seem to be catch up to all the scores, so no wins so far in the second session, but plenty of action already upcoming. And as I say, I'm really looking forward to some of the last 16 matches we're already seeing. You know, I think that either Gary Wilson, Sean Murphy against either Trump or Lisowski will be a really good match to watch. And Williams against Selby is going to be a battle of the baddest there. Probably 2 men that I think, barring Trump, are going to be the favourites for this title. Because I have to say, I haven't seen too many promising signs of the likes of Zington and Godon there. I thought they were my sort of wild card and underdogs for this tournament. But from what I've seen from them, it's probably going to be Trump's tournament to lose if he gets through a couple of more rounds. Can't really see anyone stopping him, apart from someone like Mark Selby, Mark Williams, or John Higgins, with the form they've shown. Now, almost ready to get back into action here in frame number 6. So once again, Jack Lisowski will be here to break. And get the start of the frame underway here. So it's not going to be a 5-1 scoreline as we've seen in the first round and the qualifier round for Judd Trump, but it still could be an early finish to this match, with Trump being 2 frames away from victory and a spot in the next round. Spot that will earn him £12,000 on top of 8 and 4 that you already achieved for getting to round 1 and round 2, which accumulates to more than £25,000 as he starts off with a brilliant shot there, rolling up to the red. doing everything really nicely. I think almost too nicely there, and leaving Lisowski with an attempt of not quite a touching ball, but still a straightforward safety shot. And Trump has to respond with his own. A lot of power in that cue ball. Needs to pull up in behind the yellow. And don't think it did so. So I think it is showing the red into the left corner pocket for Lisowski to try and potentially have a go at. Yeah, beautiful pace there. You just felt like he struck that one really nicely there. And now has got a couple of ball colors to choose from. There, Lisowski, as he gets the first point on the board, will go for the green there. And 4 points on the board here. Has got 3 reds in the same corner pocket that he can try and potentially get rid of. And 5 points scored here for him. Can make it around 30 here with these two still available, and the black he's about to play here. So a lot better. Early signs here in the second mini session, but a lot better from Lisowski. You know, taking his time on the shots, always nice to see. You know, not taking it too aggressively. And just making sure that he gets all of his decisions right. All of his positional play spot on. And boost his spot success as well. As that time of asking, he knew it was a clever shot from Lisowski, I will say that, because he knew even if he missed and he didn't get on any of the reds, which he did, into the corner pocket, he still had a nice shot into the left middle to try and potentially play with as a backup. Now, needs to make sure he gets this one in and lands on the right side of the blue. Of course, one of the reds has gone towards the green pocket, which will be a benefit for him. But for now, we would like to keep it as a benefit for the future, just in case he runs out of position badly there. So lands on top of the blue here. And he's going to go into the bunch once again. The right shot to play once again, but got a little bit unlucky with the cue ball just skidding through all of them and not landing on one in the end. So this time hasn't worked out for him. He's got a shot into the middle, but the cue ball being on the cushion is going to be really hard to make usage of. And now needs to choose what he's going to play with the next shot. And I think it was the wrong shot there, because he chose to go for the red into the middle, but it was always going to be a really hard cut for him. And in the end, Trump gets back to the table with a fairly simple introduction, I would say. Lisowski has to say to himself that I've gone for it, you know, it's done now, and now you have to rely on the mistake from Trump. He's got a first shot to play with the rest there, so Lisowski looking concerned behind, as he should be at this point of the match. Trump gets this one in, but not too sure which... Well, he probably was playing for the blue, but not too sure why he's landed so far from it and why he's got so much angle on it. It's a really tough pot. The similar one that he's already missed in the first couple of frames. This time it is in. And he's got 2 reds to try and potentially choose from. Quite close to the pockets. I think the first one is covered up by the brown. And the second one is certainly available to him. Try and potentially make use of. So I think he can just get through to that red. So he checks it about a couple of times here. Not too sure about it there. In the end, Yeah, he probably just about can't see it enough to be playing it at the cut that he has to. So once again, has to generate a lot of power and land on the blue, but hasn't got enough base once more. And you'll be attempt number 2 to be playing for that red, quite close to the green pocket. So uses a lot of backspin there, which is a sign that he'll be holding up for that red, making sure he doesn't run past the ball colors. But by doing that, he actually, I think, he's underrun it slightly, and he's left himself with an awful angle here, because the only real ball he can try and land for is probably going to be black. But to reach black, he's going to have to travel at least 3 cushions there. At least 2, I should say. And the entire table's distance. So the red is in, and he's gone for the 3 cushion option, and he's overrun it. So it was always going to be a really difficult shot to try and land on the black. But in the end, comes up with too much pace, and he's going to be just a safety here from Trump. Trailing by 13 points as he has on his current break. So not being too clinical in the last couple of frames, Trump. Losing the previous one and being behind in this one. Comes up with a decent safety shot. Not sure if he's covered all the reds up. And if he has, it'll be a little bit of an issue for Lisowski, as he just has a look to see if he can see any of that red on the left-hand side. And if he can't, he'll just play with a 2 cushion escape there. And try and clip one of the reds in. Can't do that from the first time of asking. And he'll probably be put back exactly where it was. I don't think it's a free ball chance here for Trump. It's certainly 4 points here for Trump. As the first attempt goes wide from Lisowski, so have to do it again and hopefully get a little bit closer. Doesn't want to be giving away too many of those points at this stage of the match. But it will be really important for him to try and concentrate on this, on this attempt, because the second one, and yeah, brilliant stuff there from Lisowski as he clips the red in this time. And it's now the turn that goes to Chomp here. So a really good shot there. Once again, a shot of a safety here for Chomp to play. And Lisowski will be coming back to the table too. Not the most favourable kisses there. As Trump will be certainly happy with that. As Lisowski potentially has one more snooker to face. This time being a little bit closer to the colour. But can he just find this time the right side of the red? He just can. Now his cue ball positioning. He needs it to be perfect with that red being close to the pocket, and it's not. So it's a chance given away here, Trump. And those chances, most of the time throughout the match so far, have been used by Judd Trump. We'll see if that will be the case once again here. Take his time here on the shot. It's a really important one, and he gets it brilliantly, and he's on the black here as well. So a brilliant shot, and could be the shot of the frame here, because the position and all the reds, well, at least, yeah, I would say all of them being in open position, will be more than enough for Trump to get the job done, as the black ball is in as well. So only 1 point in it between Trump and Lisowski. Looking to make it 26 all before he lands on the next black. Has got the color, has got the angle, I should say, perfectly for that. And just comes up a little bit short on the black here. Still alright here, but I think that will probably just force him to have a little touch with the red to be a stopper for the cue ball. It's exactly what he's done. Clever shot there. And he's once again back in prime position here. Now this time leading by 7 points with 75 on the table. Making that 8 and landing on the black nicely once again. So 4 more reds will see him nicely through this frame. And the 4-2 lead will be his here. But until then, still has to grind for that frame win. Hasn't been as straightforward as I think you wouldn't have expected, because you always knew, and you'll know better than anyone, that Jack is a really tough opponent for him. But the question for him is, has he just come not far enough? Can he see enough of that red? It seems like he just about can, to me. Not too sure what he has to say about it. And I don't think the answer is yes, because he's missed it. And what a chance this is for Lisowski. Prime position for Trump. And once again, just a little bit complacent. Not enough power in that shot. Not high enough on it. Couldn't see the red. Decided to still go for it. Didn't work out in the end. And now Lisowski has got the position to inherit here. And the situation doesn't change in terms of the balls that he has to pot here, Lisowski. Still needs to make sure all of these 4 remaining reds are in. And then with all the colors, apart from the pink, being in potable positions, still this time it's a massive chance for Lisowski after chance for Trump disappears off into the distance. So 3 more reds, 4 more colors, until the last 6 will appear on the horizon for Jack. 42 points for Lisowski. Make that 43. So once again a black will put him in the lead of 9 points. The remaining 2 reds plus colors, if you think he's going to be taking those with black, will put him 25 points clear. So a yellow should be a frame ball. Of course, it will depend which color he will go for on the last red. But so far, looking really nicely here for a potential 3-all draw. 58 point now. For Lisowski, 17 ahead. So with the angle he has here, he clearly won't be aiming for the black. So potentially get the blue out of his way before playing yellow and potentially green if he needs it. The red is comfortably in, and you'll have to stretch for that one a little bit more than you would have liked. Jack is wonderful to watch, Kevin Manelli. Yeah, absolutely, he is. I mean, he certainly is, especially when he's on it. Looks like he's stabilized. Yeah, the last 2 frames have been a lot better for him. I think the break of 15 minutes has certainly helped him to just refresh himself as a page and go again. And has he got enough on this yellow though? Would have liked a little bit more pace on that cue ball. So the yellow for Trump to be able only to tie in this frame. So it'll be 25 points gap in favor of Lisowski and 25 on the table. Still needs to pot this yellow though, and does that. So now the green for the frame ball. A little bit of distance between the cue ball and the target ball here, but still should be good enough for Lisowski to get over the line. And he hasn't. I thought he was going to be, but he wasn't. And it's a miss there from Lisowski. And it's the end of a break on 40. All of a sudden, he's got it all to do again against Judd Trump. And yeah, Trump has played his shot quite quickly there, and Lisowski has gone for a long pot. I don't think he had any sort of right to go for that long pot, Lisowski, there, because now all of a sudden Trump has got a straightforward green to the yellow pocket, pardon the pun. And Trump gets it, so on the break now, and he's still got enough points to tie up in this frame and force a respot. Big frame. It could well be a massive frame. What a difference that is between 3-0 and 4. 4-2 in favor of Trump. And with the way Lisowski has played, you know, confidence has been key for him. And as soon as he loses that, it'll be a massive asset for him to lose. Trump only has 2 more balls to hit here. As the pink is lined up nicely here by the Englishman. 59 points here for Trump. And now the black for the respot. There you go. So a respot black here, and you will be really interesting here. You can see 66, 66 here each. Will be very, very interesting to see what's going to happen here now. And so whoever pots this black will be the frame winner here. So now will be first a coin toss on who's going to take the break. And it will be Lisowski to do that. So a massive black ball here for both of the players. The green might cost Liz. Yeah, it will. It will for sure cost him a little bit of nerves. And the point is he going to cost him the frame and a chance to go back level? Jump here with an early chance of a potential cross-cut double. He's gone for it and could have got it. Was really, really close, but in the end, yes, game ball for Trump. All of a sudden, it's game ball for Lisowski here. As you know, Trump has gone for the attempt. The angle was probably there for him, but now Lisowski has got a straightforward black, and he wins this frame now, Jack Lisowski. So a really important frame for both players, and in the end, it is Jack Lisowski that comes out on top with a win, and it's 3 frames all here. So 2 frames on the bounce here, won by Lisowski. And all of a sudden, it is back to square one. And it's best of 2 here. And Wuhan Open, round 2. We have a little break in between the frames. And the break, certainly both players will need to reassess what's just happened. And go again with in the next frame. So once again, let's just go into another matches. So Xiaowei, Jackson Page, 3-2 in favor of the Chinese player. Mark Allen now leads Hossein Rafael by 3 frames to 1. Chip Chayuno leads Scott Donaldson by 4 frames to 2. Zhao Xington is looking to get ahead of Stephen Maguire for the first time in that match with a break of 70 here. Gary Wilson is now looking to have a solid lead over Sean Murphy with a potential 4-2 frames to his advantage. Tom Ford against Ryan Evans is now looking to be 1 frame away from a potential ending, with Ford getting the 4th frame on his board. Evans only has 1 to her name. And John Higgins is leading Johan Sejun by 3 frames to 1. So we'll see how that one will go in the next couple of moments' time. But I will have to say, I will be really looking forward to see what's going to happen to Trump here, because Lisowski, after winning that frame, surely it'll be a massive confidence boost for him. And I'll be really keen to see what happens to Trump here in terms of how does he respond to the way things have gone, and what his answer is going to have to be to that, because we've all seen Lisowski capable of it. Come on, Jack. Game on. Yes, game on. Absolutely, Kevin. It's absolutely game on here. And for both players, still, Trump hasn't been behind in this match since the opening frame loss. Lisowski had to be playing catch-up ever since. And now Trump hasn't left his chair during that break, as once again, they show us a replay of the 3-cushion shot that he attempted into the middle. Was probably one that was worth it, with him still being the one in the lead. But got a little bit unlucky, I would say, with the way Jack has been lined up with one into the middle nicely. And still, credit to Jack. You know, he had to take a difficult shot, and he managed to do that to force a 3-0 draw. As we now still waiting for him to come back to the table. And it'll be, I think, Trump's turn to break off here. As you can see there, Lisowski's coming back to the table, gets his cue out of the table, and he does indeed. Judd trump that he's going to be breaking here in frame number 7. Talk about important frame. What important frame this now becomes. He's going to take the lead and be 1 frame away from the round 16 spot. And Trump starts off with a brilliant break off as Lisowski snookered straight away. And a lot of balls to aim at. You know, below the pink, a big bunch there. Needs to make sure he passes the pink though. He has. As he rolls onto them. Potentially could be a chance here for Trump to have a little shot here with the reds, but doesn't even think about it. So clearly one of the reds is in the way for that. As Trump just decides to go for a safe option, but catches the blue on the way in. So a little bit of early signs of, I would say, just nerves and pressure here for Trump. Doesn't seem to be as settled as he was a couple of frames ago. And this time it is Jack with a chance that he takes, but it was always going to be pretty much impossible for him to land on any of the colors apart from the blue into the green pocket. Sloppy safety from Trump. Yeah, maybe just unfortunate, or maybe just something of a glimpse of something that's about to unfold here before our very eyes. Lisowski goes for a safety shot, so once again the turn goes back to Trump. And a nice safety shot there from Judd. Catches the yellow to make matters even worse for Jack here, as I think he only has 1 ball on the left here to try and deal with. A potential cross double, but needs to be careful with those types of shots to avoid the double kiss. He just wants to see if he can just get enough of that right hand side of one of the reds on the right side, and decides to just roll up to the bunch. So probably check beforehand that it was always going to be safe to do that. And I think Trump will just respond with sending the cue ball back towards the ball carrier and putting it all to square one. So, yeah, evaluates all of his options, which at this stage there's not too many of, and sends the cue ball back towards in behind the green and the blue. Nicely done. And this time it will be Lisowski needing to go for the cross double option, but as I said, you have to be careful with the double kiss. Another thing you have to be careful is not to catch it too thin and rattle the jaws, which is exactly what Lisowski has done. And now Trump, well, he's got away with it, Lisowski, I will say that, because he's standing there waiting for his chance, but Trump hasn't got anything but a safety. Can he roll up in behind the green? He can. Still, wouldn't get too excited about it just yet, because there's a lot of reds to try and roll up to in the middle, just below the pink spot. And just needs to make sure he doesn't have too much power on that, just it's quite well. And once again, the turn goes to Trump. I don't think you'll even consider going for that red into the green pocket with all these reds to bridge over. Once again, the cue ball is nicely and safely sent to the ball carrier there. Lisowski needs to do a similar sort of thing here, as he finds a good trajectory for the cue ball, but not perfect in terms of the reds. Is he going to be in behind the blue here? He is. So a good shot here in the end, you know. I thought the red was going to cause him trouble, staying quite close to the pocket, but him doing all the damage with the cue ball there. Here there's been a few 147s in the tournament. Yes, so there's 2 that I'm aware of. I know Chepchiayonu made one in the first round. I know Godun made one in the first round. And I also know that Xingtun was 2 shots away from one. in his qualifier match, but failed on the last pink. So yeah, with 3 balls to go, he landed really well on the blue, and still there was no problems, no concerns on the pink position, but just got that one a little bit too straight there, and rattled the jaws and stayed out. So could have been 3. I'm not sure if there's been any more than that, but certainly none that I'm aware of. As Trump taking his time here on this shot and trying to find an escape route here from a snooker, which so far he's been unable to do. And just, yeah, shake of the head there. Doesn't seem to be too amazed with the options he's got here. And that'll be a compliment to the shot that Lisowski has played. Of course, remember, it was a safety shot. It wasn't like he potted the red and he had a free chance to roll up behind the collar. And once again, almost 2 minutes there taken on this shot by Trump. Certainly thinking about it. While he's doing that, once again, I'll just check the scoreline in the Stephen Maguire-Zington match. So Zington has won the 5th frame and is now leading by 3 frames to 2. But Maguire now has a break of 52. And leading by 52 points to 0. As Trump finally decides to go for a roll-up to one of the reds into the bottom. And really close. I'm not sure if he actually has touched it. So, yeah, he hasn't. And it will be a foul. And 4 points to Lisowski. And of course, Trump will be asked to do the same procedure again. Unlucky, I would say. It wasn't really. It was the tiniest of margins. Would have made a difference if he rolled that one up a little bit more. But in the end, the cue ball's position is restored quickly. And Trump goes again. Doesn't seem to find the same trajectory here and comes up short on this one. And this time I think Lisowski might just take the position away here. As all Trump had to do was to copy the same shot he's played from before. Just put a little bit more power on it instead. Put himself in a little bit of spot of bother here. And gave Lisowski a chance that Jack hasn't taken. So, as been the case of majority of this match. And now the turn goes back to Trump here as the red stays out in the jaws of the pocket. And now the decent position that this table certainly is goes back to Trump here. The only problem I would say here is because that red has covered up the left pocket. The first shot on the color is going to be difficult. As Trump decides to go for a pink with a lot of angle generating, a lot of power on that shot, and lands just about perfectly there. So Lisowski had his chance, and now it's Trump that has his, this time of asking. And yeah, needs to make sure he builds up this points tally to at least around 40-50. Trump is careful and doesn't want to be using that red ball just yet because of it covering the pocket there. Cool stream, thank you very much, appreciate that. Lands really nicely there on the green. Could potentially take the brown if he wants to. Doesn't necessarily matter too much. He's got a similar sort of angle on both of them. It's just which side of the table he prefers to go off. And he decides to go for the brown one, so the left-hand side. As the red just below the pink there, he can potentially try and play. Not too sure if that red that is covering the left pocket is doing any sort of help to Trump, because it's blocking the path for pink and black to be going into that pocket. So it's very much limited to one side of the table, especially if you talk about the corner pockets there. But so far, he has worked out nicely for Trump. Once again, nicely on the pink here. Goes into the bunch. So I suppose that was the sort of benefit of having that red. The ability to go into the bunch without really focusing too much on ending up on the red. So this time the red disappears, so the left corner pocket is now freed up, and is nicely on the pink here, Trump. So looking to do all the damage once again here and see himself ahead for the third time in this match, after of course leading by 2-1 and 3-1, with Lisowski winning the two next frames. Trump is looking to put an end to that, taking his time here, certainly more than the last couple of frames. And yeah, so that cue ball stuck to the red there, which I don't think it will impact Trump too much, because he still has the black into the opposite corner. Problem is just bridging over and getting on the next red there. So black wasn't the most difficult of all, and he still had a backup red into the other corner. So nicely done here by Trump, and still very much in control here of this position. And once again, nicely on the black here. Bridging over a red may be an issue, so you will consider taking the pink on into the left middle, which he decides to settle for in the end. And the pink is in. So 41 points, plays 9 here, 32 points is a gap between Trump and Lisowski in the world number one's favor. So not too many reds that he has available, but also not too many reds that you'll actually need to get over the line in this frame. You know, you always felt like it was going to be scraps he was going to be getting points from, but those scraps have made him a break of 49, looking to make that 50 with the next shot, and could well be enough for a decent cushion, as he's still at the table. This visit could still prove to be the frame winning one. So Trump there just taking a little bit more time than he usually would, just to see where the cue ball is going to land, and he decides in the end to go for the ball colors, so for the safe option. Splits up the reds really nicely, and the transition from the green into the bottom part of the table will probably be one of the hardest shots he'll have to play at this frame, at the remainder of this frame. Now 44 points is the gap, with 75 on the table. So a couple of more reds, a couple of more colors, and the damage will be done here to Lisowski. Once again, Trump knocking on that lead, 4-3 this time. And it will be the favorite of this match, that he's going to be only one frame away from winning it and progressing to the next round. As one more red which has just disappeared, so just a black for the frame ball. So now the black disappears. 60 points is the gap between Trump and Lisowski. 59 is on the table, and that seems to be doing all the damage here in one visit here. Judd Trump on the break of 70 once again has got more than enough points to try and have a second century break for him at the match, with Lisowski having one of his own. Nicely done on the red. That was quite close to the cushion, probably the only one that you could potentially consider as a problem. Nicely in. And now Trump. You got to take chances when playing Trump. Yeah, exactly, absolutely. You know, when you're Lisowski, even the shot that he missed there, Trump gave him an absolute worldie of a chance. You know, he had all of this position to himself, and the first shot he's gone and missed into that left corner pocket, and ever since, Trump hasn't given him a second invitation, and is now going to respond with a century break. It would seem, in a couple of shots time, could make it this shot if he goes for the black here, which indeed he will. So a black for the second century for Judd Trump. And in it goes. So it's a second century for Judd Trump, the third in the match already. And it's a 4-3 lead here for Judd Trump, who has given an invitation to Lisowski at the start of the frame, but hasn't given a second one since, as the yellow stays out. So a break of 100 will do the damage here to Jack Lisowski, and will do all the honors for Judd Trump and his sort of 100th century break in the season pursuit. And he now leads by 4 frames to 3, and he's 1 frame away from progressing to the next round, where it looks like he'll be meeting Gary Wilson, who is only a couple of points away from beating Shaun Murphy. You know, Gary Wilson is leading by 4 frames to 2 and has a 39-point advantage with 59 points on the table. So it's looking like he will be Shaun Murphy out of it, as it's certainly Ryan Evans out of this tournament, as Tom Ford does get the job done with a 5-1 win over Evans there. Jipchai Onu is another player that has got his match in the afternoon session done and dusted with his win over Scott Donaldson, 5 frames to 2. And Gary Wilson is the only one that has 4 frames to his number, apart from Judd Trump, of course, with the match that we are watching. Si Xiaowei and Jackson Page have it 3-all, exactly the same scoreline that Zhao Xington and Stephen Maguire have, with John Higgins, Yuan Jun, and Mark Allen and Hossein Vafai having the same scoreline of 3-1 to Higgins and Allen respectively there. So not too many matches left, and all of a sudden we'll be in for a last 16 tomorrow on both morning and the afternoon session, which we'll be covering here. Wilson back on fire, Murphy struggling. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one person I didn't expect to be playing super well is Gary Wilson. Murphy might be just about all right in this frame, because he seems to be on the break of 30. I can't quite see what the position of the balls are there. But 15 points away from Wilson and 35 still available, so you never know. May be able to get one of the frames back. And then anything on top of that will be a bonus for Shaun Murphy, as this time Jack Lisowski is ready to break off for what could be a final frame in this encounter. Judd Trump could well get this job done in before 3 o'clock in the UK. Of course, it will be 10 o'clock I should say, in China this time. In Wuhan, being 7 hours ahead here of the time in London. Starts off with a really good break off there. And Trump responds with a decent safety of his, just transitioning the white onto the black cushion there. Lisowski has got 1 red ball to try and potentially deal with at the top part of the table. Can use that as a easier safety shot. And I think that's exactly what he's going to be doing. Putting it back towards the bottom side of the table. And with the cue ball in behind the brown for that particular red. So a good stop there from Lisowski, leaving Trump with not a lot of options. Just the right side of the bunch for Trump to deal with. Was quite close there, Trump, to the jaws of the pocket, so we'll be quite happy to see the cue ball not rattle in those and come back to the bulk area safely. Once again, a good safety demonstrated by the 2 of them. As this time, Lisowski doesn't demonstrate a brilliant safety and gives a chance to Trump here into both the bottom corner pocket and the green pocket, as little update, Shaun Murphy has indeed won that frame. So it's not quite over yet there for him. He's still in it, but only just. Gary Wilson now leads him by 4 frames to 3. As Trump now is eyeing up this red into the green pocket, as straight into the heart of the pocket it goes. Brilliant stuff here from Trump. And now nicely on the blue. Trying to do all the damage in one visit once again, something that he hasn't been able to do too many times today, but still has managed to do that has still managed to win 4 of those frames already, with him needing just one more to get this much done and dusted. 7 points scored. I don't think he will be a win in one visit here, to be honest with you, because I can only see 2 more reds that can be played, the bottom 2 of the pack, and after that he'll have to do some position adjustments, something that usually he's quite good at, but today hasn't been his biggest strength for Trump. As once again on the other table, Xiaozington has now got past Stephen Maguire, and he's going to be leading by 4 frames to 3 there. And now the Chinese player is another player that only needs 1 more frame to get past the Scottish guy. Karen lost. Yeah, Karen lost to Aaron Hill in the round 1. Was surprised to see him, especially with him saying all the good stuff about China as much he's coming, just how much he loves the city, just how much he loves to be playing in here, but wasn't really playing that well, and Hill was clearly better of him, beating him 5 frames to 2, but Gary Wilson is still very much in it, playing against Sean Murphy. Now Chomp is looking for the next red to play for, so he decides to not to go into the bunch, so thinks he can just play with the rest here, leaves himself a difficult angle, and certainly the one that is going to be really hard to get on the color from. Aaron Hill, good player, inconsistent but very young, very young. I remember the time that he managed to beat Mark Selby, and he lost the next match to Alan Taylor. So he just needs to find consistency, which will surely come with an age and experience, but a really good shot here from Chomp as he finds himself perfectly on the blue. And once again, another blue goes in. So 24 points already here for Chomp. The black ball and the pink ball are both out of the game for now, with the black ball tied up to the cushion and the pink covered up by the reds. So has to be playing in around the blue spot for now. And we'll see if he can develop the black or the pink in the next couple of shots. But for now, playing around the blue has worked out for him 5 times, with the 5th blue looking to go into the pocket shortly. And as Chom just assesses his next options for the next couple of shots. And by the way, an update on Aaron Hill. I just wanted to check. He has managed to beat Leipei Fan, so he's still through to the round of 16 there, Aaron Hill. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs in the later stages of the tournament. As I say, certainly has all the quality and all the performance in the world, but just for me, he just seems to be struggling with consistency, and very much sort of comes away to me as a player that can beat anyone but can also lose to anyone. Not the brilliant aspect of the game, especially in snooker, where consistency is one of the most key aspects of the game, as Chomp here has probably lost himself the position. He has a difficult red into the right middle pocket to try and potentially go for, but I don't think he will be doing that, especially with him being 30 points clear and 4-3 ahead here, and only needing around 50 more points, 40 more points I should say, to get himself into the next round spot. Well, with the way he's lining this one up, I was going to say it looked like he was going to go for that middle shot for a split second, but in the end just a safety and the cue ball back into the ball carrier. Really nice shot, and Lisowski comes back to the table for couple more safety shots of his own. The first one needs to make sure he misses the blue. It does, but also has left an invitation there for Judd into the right corner pocket. I think Trump will take this one on with the safety in mind. And so seems to be assessing that a little bit longer than he usually does, Trump. But still, no sign of his decision made there. So just looking at if he can see any plot there just to make his life even easier. So as he doesn't seem to find one, he will go for this red, but not in the way that I expected him to. I expected him to be very much on the attacking player there. He decided just to put it safe, just to make sure Lisowski doesn't get the benefit of it. And now it'll be Jack with a safety shot, and what I would assume cue ball sent back into the bulk area. Nicely done. And Trump will line up a safety of his own now, after refusing a long pot a shot ago. I think we certainly won't see any more sort of controversial or unexpected long pots attempt here from Trump. This time he decides to go just for a safety with no long pot in mind, and a decent safety enough to not leave Jack with anything straightforward. Thank you for your streaming. What's your next stream? It's gonna be Mark Selby against Mark Williams tomorrow. It's 7 o'clock. I'm still waiting to see what the TNT schedule for that is gonna be, but from the matches I've seen, it's surely the one. It's surely gonna be the one on the telly, and yeah, it'll be a really interesting match, because I am quite looking forward to see how Williams handles sort of the safety style of play, and what Selby's response is going to be, because from what I've seen of Selby today against Gilbert, and what I've seen of Williams so far in the tournament against Ivan O'Connor, the highlights I've seen and the sort of bits I've seen on TNT, as Trump comes away with a brilliant long pot here, by the way. Brilliant stuff. Doesn't land on any of the colors, so probably will be just a roll up in behind any of them for a snooker. But what a shot he found there. Brilliant stuff from Trump. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen there. And I certainly think this is one of the matches that could go either way, and could certainly see a decider there as well. As Trump does indeed roll up to the brown, so Lisowski's turn. Try and respond to it. Yes, Williams complaining of tiredness. Oh, that's not a good thing. Because I have to say, if Williams is complaining of tiredness and he's playing against someone like Mark Selby, he should have not said that publicly, because Selby will now grind every single frame to at least an hour. As Lisowski here goes for a 2-cushion escape and lands in no man's land, and I think Trump is going to be lining up a pot here, or potentially ask for Jack to be put back. Yes, thank you. Good stuff. Good stuff there. As yes, indeed, it will be attempt number 2 here for Lisowski. Trump clearly feels like he can get a better position out of it. Well, let's see. Lisowski certainly is not the player that has a lot of patience to his nature and his name. And but of course he will understand that if he wants to stay in this tournament, he'll have to find some sort of answer to this. This time goes for a different approach and misses it by a bigger distance, so that will certainly be coming back. As another 4 points goes the way of Trump. So I wouldn't say 4 points really matter at this stage, even if they accumulate, because the gap for Trump is 39 points, still almost 100 on the table. But what Lisowski realizes better than anyone is if he gives the chance of a pot to Trump, that will be pack your bag and go home for Jack Lisowski here. Once again, the referee checks with Lisowski and Trump being happy with the position of the cue ball, and the attempt number 3 is coming up. Better line, but not good enough. And the pace will probably make Trump put it back one more time. So a little bit of a pattern here, and a recurrence. 43 points, the gap for Trump. And attempt number 4 coming up shortly here for Jack. He has stuck with his line ever since attempt number 2 here, going from the left to right cushion here. 2 cushion escape. Adjustments made this time. And it's a lot better. It's a lot better here from Jack, as not only he hits it, but he also gets it pretty safe there. So probably 12 points well spent there, I would say, because Trump, I do still feel he could have taken that red on, and it could well have been frame and match over, but he decided against that, taking the conservative approach. Could still prove to be the right approach come the end of the match. And yeah, Trump this time taking his time to see what safety shot to play. In the end, going for the straightforward one and putting the cue ball on the ball cushion in behind the yellow. So nicely done there. Doesn't leave an awful lot for Jack, apart from potentially a left side of the 2 reds closest to the black. I think that'll be the way for him to escape from here, as it is. Lovely line here, needs to pass the yellow. Brilliant stuff here from Lisowski. And this time, Trump hasn't got that luxury, so I would assume this time Trump will just have to roll up to one of the reds and leave the cue ball quite close to the black cushion, as none of the reds seems to be too dangerous there. So he has managed to find one, and it's a beautiful line. Gets a little lucky with a kiss from the green in terms of the cover up from the brown. The distance between the cue ball and the cushion is significant though, so Lisowski might be tempted to go for a pot here. But one thing he will know for sure is any sort of missed chance could be an end of the frame for him and the end of the match. And it's exactly what he's done. He missed that one by quite a long margin. And it should be a frame over and match over here for Judd Trump, as he's now already 43 points clear. The black ball is out of position. The blue ball is now out of position, but still has got pink and a couple of ball colors to be playing around with. Botched that one, yeah. Probably the end of the match here. So we'll just see if Trump can get the most out of it. As the pink is in, so that will go back on his spot. 50 points is the deficit with 91 on the table. As goes for another red there. Lands on the pink nicely, so no angle. And a couple of more reds should do the job here for Judd Trump. As another pink goes in, so I don't think that the issue of the black and the blue being on the cushion will bother Trump too much. If anything, it's probably an advantage, because if Trump was to miss one of the reds or one of the colors, and Lisowski was to be trying to catch up, that will make it pretty much impossible, because all of the reds will have to be played with the pink to make sure he gets the maximum amount of points with the black and the blue out of the equation. But I don't think that will be the case, as Trump is just a couple of shots away from winning here. 64 points on the board. Hasn't landed on the red perfectly here. I'm not too sure which one he would have been aiming at, but has one more red and one more color is all Judd Trump needs here. And the red is in, so just the color needed, and Jack Lisowski will need snooker in the last frame. It looks like it will be the green, which Trump has landed quite awkwardly on, but still should be able to finish the job there. If he is backing himself, he can always go for the brown and just rely on that it sticks to the pocket, and indeed it did. So wonderfully done there. And it's now Jack Lisowski with snookers needing here. Judd Trump is now officially, you can say, after he pots another red, is the winner of this match by 5 frames to 3 here. Lisowski put up a decent fight, but in the end came up short here. And yeah, so probably just a couple of more shots for Trump to just finish off the match in style. Give the fans a couple of more shots to cheer for. As another red disappears. Another pink will disappear shortly. And a red will follow up as well. GG's to Jack. He put up a good fight. Yeah, true. True. 5-3 is probably a fair scoreline. It's probably a fair scoreline, whichever way you look at it. As the red does fall in the end. So, as a couple of more shots here for Trump. There's a little bit of exhibition there and a little bit of brilliance from Trump. Once again, rattles the pink in with style. Will take some effort to do something about this one, but you can see there a miss from Lisowski that ultimately cost him the match. And the frame here as the shake of the hand there, and it is Judd Trump that wins the round of 32 and the second round here at Wuhan Open by 5 frames to 3. It was a good fight. It was a good match. Both players have put up a show, and it was certainly a high-scoring one. But in the end, only one man could win, and it was Judd Trump. So happy days. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Kevin. See you tomorrow, my friend. Happy days here indeed. If you're a Judd Trump fan, a little bit less so if you're a fan of Jack Lisowski. As I might be actually tempted here. You can see the broadcast on TNT, they've turned up the Stephen Maguire and Zhao Xington match, and it looks like he'll be going the distance. So if you want to stay in for a little bit longer here, if you want to stick around, I will change the scoring and I'll be back for a decider here. So if you want to stick around, feel free to do so. I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes' time for a decider in the Zhao Xington against Stephen Maguire match. But if you're not, then thank you very much for watching. Appreciate all your support. And feel free to hit the like and the subscribe button. Stick around for more content. Thank you very much. And for those that will be sticking around, I'll see you in a couple of moments' time. So now, ladies and gentlemen, after a late pause there, we will be having a match and a decider frame here between Stephen Maguire and Zhao Xington. After you can see on the scoreboard, the match hasn't had a player that was leading for more than one frame, so it's been entirely anyone's up for grabs here, as Maguire starts off with a decent break-off shot here, and Xington has got a potential long pot to the left corner. From the way he has been so far himself, it's been hard to turn those down. And yeah, the cue ball in the end just doesn't travel enough distance. And now Maguire all of a sudden has a chance of a pot that he's going to be hard to turn down for himself there. Just needs to evaluate if there's any real value in it with the black being covered up by the reds. And if he does want to be just screwing up for the blue potentially here, Maguire, we'll see about that. So no, decides to go for a safety in the end, so impressed with that, I have to say. Haven't seen too many chances like that Stephen Maguire has turned down. But in the end, comes away with a really good safety there. So it's Xington's turn to try and respond to it. You know, with Xington was actually leading by 4 frames to 3, but Maguire has put up a brilliant break at the end of more than 119 points to 0. He won that one. I'm not too sure what the final break for him was. But Xington here responding with a decent safety early on. Of course, both players being really attacking, especially if you talk about Zhao Xington. Well, it's really hard to point out who's the one especially attacking here, with 2 of them are really taking the long pots quite frequently. So Maguire there evaluating this time which side of the red to go for. I think he'll have to settle for the left-hand side and just guide past through that red that is near the cushion. And he may actually attempt for a long pot here. So I was saying that it's hard for him to turn those down. And in the end, he's found the gap there for the cue ball to be heading back towards the bulk area. He's missed the pot though, and he's left a potential red over the middle pocket, so won't be too happy with himself there, Maguire. And Xington has missed it, so he had a chance into the middle, but he hasn't managed to take it. Now has he left anything for Maguire, or are these 2 reds blocking each other? We'll see in a second's time here. It'll be unfortunate for Maguire if that is the case. He's got a little bit of a tougher cut into both left or right corner pockets, but would love to see one into the middle, but surely that's not going to happen as he goes to check which shot he will take. So just has one final look towards the middle, just to be sure that there's no way that can go through. In the end, he seems to be getting down for it, so maybe it will just about go through. In the end, it does, but had to sacrifice any sort of cue action on that blue. So finds himself the wrong way of it. But still, it's Stephen Maguire here with the first point on the board. And now has the blue. Probably will have the cue ball traveling the long distance here over the ball cushion and back towards the bottom side of the table. Does indeed do that. The blue is in and the position on the red isn't bad. It's not perfect, but it's probably the best he could have salvaged in those circumstances. Nicely done once again, this time on the right side of the blue. So early chance here for Stephen Maguire after Xington had a chance himself into the middle pocket, caused by the missed opportunity from Maguire. So it all comes into cycles, and all of a sudden Maguire is here with a decent chance to put this match to bed, but still earlier on and still has a lot of work to do, as already seems to be not too convinced by which ball to play at. Another thing I should mention is, of course, the black and the pink out of the equation, with the black resting on the side, on the right side cushion there, quite close to the middle pocket, and the pink covered up by the reds. Well, it's no longer covered up by the reds because Maguire has probably heard me and has said, you know what, I'm gonna need the pink. And he hasn't landed on anything here as he smacks the table with his hand there. A little bit in the acting way, so not really with a fist, but still is clearly frustrated with what he's ended up there. Has got a red into the right middle pocket, but that shot will have to be done with him bridging over the red, so making it an awful lot harder than he would have liked. And in the end, we will see what's going to happen here, as it looks like he'll just have to do for a safety. Yeah, red to right middle. I was thinking that, but I don't think he wants to put all of his eggs in one basket and to bridge over this red. Yeah, so he does seem to be just having a look at it, so he clearly notices it, but I understand what he's saying there. If he misses it, it's game gone, and yeah, it's not the risk that is worth taking with all that bridging over to do, and just a safety there from Maguire. So a sensible approach. Clever shot in the end with covering the danger balls in the left part of the corner pocket. And it's now Forsington to restore himself into this match. As he will be himself lining up one of the shots here. And decides to go for a safety that will have cue ball traveling quite a long distance there, and probably too much of a distance in the end. Leaves one of those reds into the corner pocket available for Maguire, but the question remains unanswered. Which colour do you land on if you take those shots, which I think Maguire will. And there's your answer. He's certainly taking it on. Needs to make sure it's in though. And it's not, but he took the less aggressive one, but he still caught blue on full ball there, and he's given Zington now a chance, a massive chance into this deciding frame. And yeah, you can see, if you are able to read the lips there from Maguire, I'm not going to say exactly what he said, but it wasn't anything nice, basically, as well. That's what I'll say to you. Zington now has an opener to the left corner pocket. Takes it brilliantly. Now has got a pink into the middle. And the blue is still very much possible. It's now sharing the brown spot with the brown itself. And its spot is very much free. So I think if he can get blue and pink to work with, Zington could be in with a chance here. Of course, the position is far from ideal, especially with the colors being messed up, at least the main three of them. Only the pink is now on his spot. The black is still tied up to the cushion, of the side cushion, I would say. And the blue is still resting on the top side of the table there. Can't quite generate enough power there, Zington, and enough angle to find himself nicely on the pink. So once again has to go over the red if he does decide to go for the pink, which I think is just a formality if you ask this question. If you know Zhao Zington and the way he's been playing on tour, he rarely refuses chances like that here. And in the end, it's a decision that was probably the right one. And the question is, has he landed on anything? I think the answer is yes, if the pink is not covering the angle, the potting angle, and I'm not too sure what the answer to that is. I'll need to see a better angle here on TNT. And Zington is now leading by 14 points to 12. Yes, you can't see that one, so you'll have to go for a dangerous shot, and he misses it in the end. So once again, that inability to turn down these sort of shots has came back to bite him, and it's Maguire that comes back to the table, and what comes around swings around. Once again, it's the Scottish player with a chance here, and it's a missed opportunity here for Zhao Zington. Maguire hasn't got anything easy to find an angle to land on the pink. The easiest shot will of course be the red into the right middle pocket, but that will leave with a lot of work to do for Maguire to land on the pink perfectly. Zhao is too aggressive for his own good. I think you have to be a little bit more conservatory. Well, yeah, you say that, and then Maguire just missed that. So I don't think I can evaluate any more on Zhao Xington being too aggressive. If Maguire is missing pots like that, I think there's no comments about this. You know, if you think Zhao Xington is too aggressive, and the way Maguire just missed there. I mean, Xington needs lucky to be back in his frame, but what a miss this is from Maguire. But yeah, if you talk about Xington on a serious note, when you are on a decider, you can't be missing shots. You can't be really taking those shots like that all the time. Wow, what a mistake, exactly. Exactly that. That was my reaction from a couple of seconds ago. And once again, Xington with a chance. And I feel like I'll be saying Maguire with a chance in a couple of seconds ago with the way this deciding frame has gone. And 22 points, place 12 now in favor of the Chinese player. With all the sort of issues and all the reds and the black on the cushion, you could see a 50 points of a gap being good enough to win this frame. It still has an awful lot to go until then. Zhao Xington. Should be a wrap for Zhao. Well, it should, but it should have been a wrap for Maguire when he missed that red to the middle. It should have been a wrap for Xington, where he took a run-on he never should have taken. So, could it be the third time lucky here? As now I think Zhao Xington is going to be lining up. The blue is better in terms of positional play because he needs it, but the green is better in terms of an angle. So he decides to use the red really close to the middle pocket, so I thought he was going to use that one, leave that one till last, but of course he knows better than I do. Once again, lands really nicely on the blue here. So a gap of 23 points and 83 on the table. Those points, those numbers will be quickly reducing here for Zhao Xington. And Stephen Maguire, depends which way you look at it. Xington once again landing quite in between there, so will likely need a rest here and extension unless he decides to go for the other pocket, which is a tougher cut. So I think the answer is understandable and it will be a rest shot for him. Nothing too difficult, but just a little bit awkward to try and reach, so has to go grab an extension. Those are the type of moments that just drop the momentum to an extent. You know, you add a little bit of frustration into it, and it could, I don't think you'll miss it, but it could lead it to a bad positional shot on the pink or blue. And he's all right. I wouldn't say he's perfect. I think he's overrun the position on the pink slightly, and still should be good enough for a red waiting for him near the black spot. As the pink is in. 47 points now, place 12 with 75 on the table. So 3 more reds, I think, is all it will take for Zhao Xington to become the winner of this match. The first one is barely dropped in, so not perfect there. Lands on the ping ball pretty straight, so not too sure which red he's going to be going for next. So the pink will put him 42 points clear with 67 on the table. He will ideally like at least 2 more reds taken out of the equation until he can sort of say, okay, I'm in round of 16. Yeah, I don't think he has a lot of options here on the pink. Probably just stun it and try and get in behind that red. So exactly what he's done, but didn't want to land exactly on the cushion there. It's always going to be difficult with not a lot of room for margin there. So a red here for a potential chance for a match ball a couple of shots later on, and it's taken. So it could be a very important shot come the end of this match. 43 points is now the gap. So the pink will make it 49. And he'll still need a red and a color after it. But in prime position now, Zhao to take this deciding frame. But for now, needs to focus on getting the pink in and hopefully get anywhere near the potting angle for the red next to the bottom left pocket there. But it'll be a difficult shot, this is, because even though the red is quite close to the pocket, it's also quite close to the cushion. And we all know these ones are the killer for you. But he's in with a touching distance here. Only needs a red and a color to wrap up the match. But it could not have been such easy, could it? For Zhao, it would have been just too simple. And I think the script is a lot more complicated than that. As Maguire comes back for at least a couple of more shots. Not too sure. I still think it will be an incredible mountain for him to climb if he is to win this match. But he survives for now. And now has to find an answer to himself. With, you know, that black bean on the cushion could become a massive problem for him. If, you know, if he is coming back at Zington. Because 49 being the gap, you know, 59 on the table. You can't really afford to be losing too many of those points. As Maguire goes for a decent safety there. And I think at these points, Zington can't just afford to be going for those shots. The long shots, I would say, that are usually 50-50. And if he gets this long shot in, he will be match over. It's a big if, though. And hasn't done so. And he's brought one of the reds into play. So the cue ball is resting nicely on the black ball cushion. But one of the reds that was on the cushion previously is no longer on the cushion. And that could be a significant factor. I wouldn't say it's a game changer, but it could be a significant factor for Maguire. As he's got a chance now to get the last red on the cushion into the play. And it looks like he'll be doing just that. And yeah, so still an awful lot to play for here for Zhao Xington, as now he has not necessarily the easiest shot to face with the safety. All the reds being on the top part of the table, the cue ball resting on the bottom black ball cushion there. And even though it looked like it was going to be a wrap for Zhao Xington, all of a sudden it's now looking like it's going to be a safety battle at least one more time here. As Xington, I think, just gives Maguire too much breathing space and too much room to see on that red on the left-hand side. Maybe just a little invitation for Maguire to potentially go and make an error here, Stephen. And I'll just capitalize on your mistake once again, as I've done throughout this frame so far. But hasn't quite got over the line just yet here, Xington. I think Maguire, that's exactly what Maguire will be thinking now. Do I just go for it and put all my eggs in one basket, as I say before? Or do I just try and play for a better chance? I think you'll have to go for it, to be honest with you, because the black being the only issue he has got with the position, if he gets it, all of a sudden he's in prime chance. He doesn't get it though, and yeah, that was the downside. That was always the downside for Maguire. If I get it, I'm in prime position to be catching up to him, and if I don't, I leave an easy red into the right middle pocket, and that is frame and match for Zhao Xington. Probably just a little bit short with that, because Zhao Xington has done something that I didn't expect him to do. And he spotted that red, but he's also potted a brown with it, so it's a foul. And 4 points to Maguire. So all of a sudden, I don't know what on earth he was thinking there, Zhao Xington. He should have been anywhere near the brown. OMG, exactly. Like, I don't think it was me jinxing it. I think it was Xington just thinking it was over before it was actually over. 45 points is the deficit now for Maguire. 51 on the table. And he doesn't necessarily even need the black until the last shot. A chance for Maguire, yeah. Out of nowhere. I mean, out of stupidity, I would say. I wouldn't say it was out of nowhere. I would say it is out of his own stupidity here for Xington. It's one of those. It's one of those things. I can understand him taking those 50-50 shots, you know, when he's 45 points clear. But when he has got a straightforward match ball in front of him, I don't know why on earth he would just not roll that one in and just avoid any kind of errors. And this time, he goes for another long shot and he puts the black into play. So, yeah, I'm not going to say what I was going to say there, but it's not looking good here for Zington. As it seems to be his own downfall here. And Maguire, once again, has got a chance of a decent safety with very few centimeters between the cue ball and the red ball closest to it. So could put the black into equation and try and put the cue ball right in behind the black there. And the red could send the red up towards the black ball area. A lot of experience, too much aggression. Yeah, probably. That's probably the nicer way to put it. I was going to go a lot more harder on him, but a lack of experience. Surely you will have some sort of experience. You know, this guy won UK Championship 4 years ago. He's now a World Championship winner. And I know that became possible because of his aggression, but surely in some of those times he said to himself, well, you know what, maybe I should just go and play a little bit more safer than I do. But hasn't been the case through this decider. And Zington now goes for a cross double shot. This looks like a good line here. And the green comes to his rescue here nicely. So it's a good safety shot there from Zington. So certainly capable of doing those. And now with all three reds being quite far from the cushion, it's not a gimme here for Maguire. As the view is going to be limited. He may be able to swerve around the green here and get through to that red. But maybe it doesn't mean that he will do. And even if he does, he can't really control where the cue ball will end up from there. With three more reds being very much in the open play. And Maguire now thinking about every single chance he has here. I think if he is going to have to roll up to it, he needs to make sure he gets his spot on first time. Because even though Zington has messed up the match ball chance, he's still within touching distance of it. And a 4-point foul will be really costly. So he did decide to go for it. And in the end, where's he going to end up? He's going to end up in the best possible manner here for Maguire. I mean, talk about luck. He certainly has reminded one of the people that I was playing against. You know, you put him in all sort of spot of bother, and he'll end up with you being the one that's snookered. And, you know, Zington now all of a sudden has it all to do all over again now as he finds himself being snookered. Lol, exactly. Lol is exactly the three letters that I would use here. As you know, Zington had everything to his manner that, you know, sort of a match ball and a chance in the previous shot, and then all of a sudden Maguire has came up from absolutely nowhere here and is now within touching distance here of getting himself back in the equation. Zington taking his time here on the shot. No wonder he is. With, you know, probably going to be aiming for the middle of the two reds. He's gone for the lowest of them all. He's missed it. Where's the cue ball going to end up? So in the position for Maguire to probably say, put it back this time, son. I'll take a couple of points from you here. And yeah, so 41 points is the gap now. 51 on the table. And no sign so far that that number will decrease. Will increase, I should say, in a couple of moments to come. As Zington gets lucky there to an extent, but he leaves a potential pot there into the middle. So he didn't catch the ball that he was intending to. Caught the top red on the way up to the table. But now has left Maguire with a chance here. Not a straightforward by any stretch of imagination, but certainly the one that I think the player of Maguire will take. And if he pots it, oh my, oh my. I think China will absolutely erupt in its entirety, especially in its snooker entirety, because Maguire will be in with a brilliant chance to close off the decider. And he's done exactly that here. He's gone and potted this red. Wow, what an ending this could be. I mean, I don't really see any problems at all from Maguire here, apart from maybe the pink to black transition. It's the only thing I can think of in the end. If Maguire doesn't decide to use black ball before that on one of the two remaining reds. But this is now Maguire's chance and Maguire's frame to lose. I mean, change my mind. He's in with a prime position here to turn this match and turn this frame on his head. Would have liked to see himself a little bit more straightforward here. And has to go with the rest here for the blue. So made the mess of that slightly there, Maguire. Landing on the blue. Needs to judge it perfectly. Just can't afford any more miscues, misses. The blue ball is in, but the cue ball has caught the red. And talk about miscue, misses. It's a waste there for Maguire. I think he'll still probably go for this red, but from a pretty much a guaranteed pot of the red, he's now gone to a 50-50 pot of the red, with the cue ball being quite close to the cushion there. Important shot this is, and he makes it. So make up for your errors there, and it's exactly what Maguire's done. Now, has he got the right side of the blue? No, he hasn't. So which color is he gonna go for? Probably still the blue and just roll up and go for the yellow in the green pocket, because remember, the yellow is now not on its spot. It's quite in between the blue and the brown spots. No, he decides to go for the yellow in the normal spot. So surprised to see that slightly from Maguire, because now he's got a lot of cue action to do to land in behind the green here to find himself the right angle on the brown. So hasn't really done that, so we'll need a cushion to land on the brown perfectly here, but still a prime chance here for Maguire, as he's 5 pots away from having an absolute worldie of a steal here of a frame. And good stuff here from Maguire once again. So the brown does indeed go past the black, so that makes the life of Maguire a little bit easier there. And 48 points now is what he has on his scoring board. Make that 53 with the blue. So now just the pink and the black for an absolute worldie of a steal, as I say, for Stephen Maguire. A lot of backspin there on the cue ball, trusting himself and trusting his powers. And just one more last ball for Stephen Maguire to do the impossible. Wow, what a frame, what a match this has been. I've only caught up the last frame of it, but what an absolute shocker this is for Zhao Xingtong. And what an absolute win this is for Stephen Maguire. Zhao Xingtong comes crashing out of Wuhan Open after having potted the match ball incredibly. But a few seconds later, he has indeed potted the brown alongside it, and Stephen Maguire has only gone and done it. Run away with one. I mean, it's an incredible match, and it's an incredible frame there of snooker. Brilliant here to wrap up the action here on the main table. And we'll be back for some more action with Mark Williams and Mark Selby being the ones featuring tomorrow. Feel free to come back and tune in for more of that. For now though, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and the like button on this video. Once again, thank you for your support, and we'll see you for more action tomorrow.